Is there anything from yesterday that came to your mind that you would like to discuss?
Um,
Yes.
you gave us homework after the first module, and you said we should choose a day. We should open your heart and say yes to everything and
Yes.
write down our experience.
Yes.
I would like to know how this went and how we should go about that.
So you did it, Rosemary?
Um, I haven't succeeded for a whole day, to be honest.
For how long have you done it?
No, I noticed. Shall I just say my experience?
Yeah.
Um, I noticed if I say yes with an open heart, completely agree, what happens? I'm in the flow of the day.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Did she freeze?
she froze. Yesterday your internet was good, Rosemary. And now you're frozen. She might fall out again. Hello. And you, Janet, did you do the exercise with saying yes?
I did not.
Well, you can do it anytime,
Okay.
even just for half a day. It doesn't need to be a whole day.
Okay.
Hmm. It's quite amazing. Yeah, I knew she's gonna go. I bet she will be back. Anyhow, we're gonna start with the second part of module 2. We are looking at the other word, two, or actually this two strong. Oh no, hang on. Hang on, I'm in the wrong chart. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Here we go. This is part 2. In part 2, we are talking about the importance of please. The word that literally moves mountains in day-to-day life as much as or even more in the soul movements of a family constellation. So, where are we looking at? We are looking at the word please. We are looking at the interrupted movement towards the mother. We are looking at the dynamic rather me than you. We are looking at entanglements. We are looking at chronic and fatal diseases. We will actually look at and demonstrate a family constellation with a disease. And we will do some exercises around that. Okay, so why is please so important? So this is easy to understand when you think about where it stands for. This, if you think of the word please beyond the polite version of please hand me the sugar, or please leave the door open when I leave. Yeah, we are not talking about these kinds of pleases. Yeah, we are talking about the please that comes from the heart. Hmm? In this case, it says, please says, I want to bond with you. I want to have a bond with you. Hmm? It stands for I need something from you. Right? If you say, please do this, do that, give me this, give me that, you need something from somebody. And this is also on a heart and soul level the same. It's expressing the need of getting something from somebody else. Please is therefore often hard to say because you are entering into a bond that you don't know exactly what you know what you have to do in this bond, right? So it's always vice versa. It has to do with somebody else. So interestingly, a lot of people have a problem to say, not a problem to say please in day to day where it doesn't mean anything, but to say it from the heart, there's a big struggle. Uh, the word please can literally move mountains in real life as much as in family constellations. And This is probably the most common word that we use in family constellation to get the biggest step ahead towards unifying. Because remember, please stands for I want to bond with you. And what are we doing in family constellation is that we are looking where the bond was broken or not allowed, and we are allowing the souls to come together who belong together and have been apart, and that is a bond. So the please is in a family constellation often the word that brings the most relief uh, in a situation that you see in a family constellation. Um, please can be said and expressed on its own, that's fine. But you can also put please in a sentence, and as close as the sentence is to the truth of what you are observing, what is in a family constellation, as more effect it has on the movement of the souls. So a good please is, please bless me if I stay. This in case of somebody who is entangled and wants to follow somebody in the death, basically. And we look at this dynamic, especially when we look at severe diseases or fatal diseases, because that's often the case. Yeah. So here is the bond to the one who's already gone, so strong that they want to follow. But in order to stay alive and live their own life, um, they need the blessing of the one who is leaving. So this could be, so the bond is still intact, but it is not in a way that it is a following into the death. It's in a way that it is staying alive. Because this person cannot live without the bond with the ones they love. The other please is, please, I need you. The please is always I need you. I need something from you, or I need you. Yeah. So this is where please stands for. It's also very common and very important in a family constellation to use the word please in this meaning of look at me, please look at me. Because please stands for bond, to want to bond with somebody else, and there is no bond without a relationship, and the relationship starts with eye contact in the family constellation, right? Starts with eye contact. When there is no eye contact, there is no relationship. Nobody's relating to each other. So the please is addressed to somebody who the representative wants to bond with or relate to, but who's looking away. And that would be a please look at me. When to apply please? If the order is not respected by a later one, so remember the first order of love, who comes first? The ones who come first are always to be respected as such, as they are older, as they were there before you, right? So that's the order. If this is not respected by a later one, then the word please is appropriate to say to establish the order back. The please you also need when a heart connection is lost or broken. So we know that, and we will go in detail today already into the interrupted movement towards the mother, where the heart connection is broken often. And that is where the word please comes into play and works wonders or miracles, if you will. If a child despises a parent, for example, the soul says, rather I die, for example, of cancer, than bow to you, right? And if this is happening, then the word please is establishing the healthy bond again. Yeah. Because the please, it says also, I need you. And when I acknowledge that I need you, I also acknowledge that you are before me, and that enables me to bow to you and show you respect. It is very interesting to see how Cancer plays out in family constellation, and it is practically always the resistance towards a significant person. Yeah. When to apply please if the entangler cannot look at the victim. So in an entanglement, we always have three persons. One is the let's say the victim, the other is the perpetrator, and the third person is the one who is entangled with the perpetrator or the victim, who is probably the client. Yeah, most of. So the entangler, who is the original perpetrator, cannot look at the victim. This shows the disconnection, which is the problem in the family system, which wants the healing. So to move this perpetrator around, so to speak, and let him face the victim to start to relate and to bond with the victim, the client can say to the entangler, please look at the victim. It's not a please look at me, it's a please look at him. Hmm? So this please can be applied in two ways. Please look at me, or please look at him in a form in a constellation with three people when there is an entanglement. If one cannot say please, it is always recommended not to give up. We actually never give really up until it comes to a point of no return. But to use what I call, excuse me, the little sister of please, the little version of please. And that is, if one cannot say please try, please give me some time. Because obviously there is the barrier to say please to bond is high, but a relationship is already established because they can look at each other. Yeah. So in this situation, it is a next step to move the souls to say, please give me some time. Or please give me some space. Sometimes you need space and not time. Or please be patient with me because I'm not quite ready yet to fully bond. Hmm? But I will be, with some time. Or if no version of please is possible, you can always ask the representative to become small. For example, by going on the knees, or sitting down, or even lying down, or just to take a bow in front of the person. All these gestures are helping the representative to be able to say please. Because somebody in a family constellation, for example, who is quite tall, representing, let's say, a child, and the representative of the mother is quite petite, if one is overtowering the mother, it is sometimes really hard to say please because one feels so tall, right, than the mother. But if you allow this tall person to become small in and therefore to need to look up, like look up to the mother, then the whole dynamic changes. Bert Hellinger has often demonstrated how effective it is, especially with a child who cannot say please to a parent, most often the mother, but it can also be the father, that this child is lying flat on the belly, like the representative, of course, an adult, is lying flat on the belly with the head down, arms reaching forward and holding the feet of the mother. And this is often a breakthrough for this representative or for the client who is the child. Mm. And then they are able to say please, because they cannot be smaller than that compared to the mother. It does look a little bit religious because it does remind oneself, of the Catholic priest lying on the floor in front of the cross. I don't know whether you have seen that. I think Sacramento is quite Catholic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that is probably because Bert Hellinger was a Catholic priest. So, he might, but for him, it was kind of something that he knew works, and it does work in family constellation also treat in a non-religious context, of course. Mm. If someone cannot say it, don't force it. That's a rule in family constellation. Mm. Having said that, in earlier videos of Bert Hellinger, you will probably see him that he's very strict with a representative who is quite reluctant to say something. And he said, just say it now, say it, say it, say it. That is okay, he can do that, and it has its value. Hmm? I really prefer to go completely with the field and let the field decide when what can be said and done. That doesn't mean that you allow it to be. You acknowledge they can't say it, and then you find other ways to help them to say it instead of forcing it. So you help to say it by making them small, suggesting the little sister of please, adding the word a little bit later, a little bit this, a little bit that. So it's not the whole please to the fullest extent. Um, so you don't need uh, to feel bad if a representative cannot say this word immediately, or even not even at the end, because um, you are not there to make a certain to perform a certain task or come to a certain outcome. That's not the job, right? So what is enabled in a family constellation is enabled, and what is not enabled is not. And that is okay. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Right? So we need to come out of this mindset of thinking we need at the end of the constellation, like everyone is hugging. That's not it. And that's not even a strong constellation, right? What we need is we need a sign of relief in the client. And that is the step that was enabled to the client. And everything else is not in our hands anyhow. So there are means to make a representative to say at least a little please, or come, or there are ways to make him to say please. And if that is possible, great. Definitely good outcome. If it's not possible, also great. It's not the time, it's not the place, but every step that has been taken in this particular family constellation was necessary for the next one. Um, you cannot apply please when something needs to end, because please is kind of the beginning of a bond, yeah. So let's say, here's an example that sometimes I see in constellations that is conveying this. In a relationship, in a romantic relationship, when in the constellation it is clear the relationship is over, yeah, and the partners they are parting, yeah, and that's often one more than the other, right? That's often the case. Then sometimes the facilitator or sometimes the representative has the urge to say to the other, please forgive me. And that has implications on multiple levels. First of all, the please is bonding them again. So when you're already performing like a separation, so it comes to a good end and everybody can move on and find new partners and all of this, and then you bring in the please again, then you're kind of reversing everything again. Yeah. And then the second one is nobody else, and we talk about forgiving today. So in a family constellation, nobody can forgive anybody. Hmm? Yeah. So this is kind of this is just a if this comes up in one partner and say, oh, I really want to ask for forgiveness, right? Then you have to really look as a facilitator, what is that for? What is behind that? What is the emotion? And then just acknowledging the emotion. Like instead of say, please forgive me, said, I feel guilty. That's fine. They can say that. I feel guilty. It's acknowledging what is. Hmm? So you would suggest to the representative to stop or not to say impulsively, please forgive me. You would suggest to say to him, I feel guilty. Yeah. And then from there, that has much more stronger impact on the movement of the souls, and it doesn't bond them again. Hmm? If a child is entangled with the former partner of a parent, the child doesn't say please to the parents of the ex-partners. So that means there is, okay, so now we are talking about an entanglement that you sometimes see in constellations with, in this kind of patchwork families or what is it called? Rainbow families. I don't even know, right? Anyhow, where there are children from different partners, yeah, and they're living together and they all had former relationships and so on. Now, if a relationship has ended on a bad term and the partner who has left behind has a strong energy still, yeah, on the partner who moved on or who thought they would move on, probably hasn't, with a new partner and they have a child, this child can be entangled with this dismissed former partner. Hmm? And that we will look at this throughout the course and also in the workshop, how that looks like. They will then hold a grudge against their own mother if it would be a woman, or against their own father if it would be a man, the one who left behind. Yeah. Now, in this case, um, the child doesn't say please to any of the family members of the ex-partner, right? Because there is no bond and there should be no bond because it's an entanglement. Hmm? So we always have to see, okay, here's the child. Is the child in a natural order with their parents or grandparents or ancestors, right, where the please is appropriate? Or is it a sidetrack and it's not their parents, it's the parents of somebody else? With them, they are entangled. Now that would be detrimental to say please to them because, you know, this child should not bond with them at all because we are there to clear the entanglement and not to let the child like bond more than they already did, right? So that is the only way to decipher this. Okay, please is okay to the own parents, not to somebody else for the child. Just to say that, yeah, in this relationship. So the most important please is of course then also to the parents, which always first of all says that they need the parents. Okay, so this I need you is a please. So It can either be suggested as a please to the parents or please, please, I need you. I use it all the time in the family constellation because this is more, precise. Um, Often, especially at the beginning of a family constellation, especially if it's the first constellation for somebody, and then you say please to your parent, like mother or father. They don't know why because they don't know where they don't know why. They don't know where to say please for. And so it kind of comes from the mind a little bit. Please, why should I say please? No? So in this case, it is good to say please, I need you, because of course, yeah, they can understand that they need their parents, right? Mm. So the please to the parents can be I need you, or I won't survive without you, right? Because also then um, adults who are facing their parents in a family constellation, especially for the first time, they can't say, not even I need you. There is a resistance, right? And you may relate to it because I know that is your topic as well. So then you have to find that word which is something they actually can acknowledge to. Yeah, and the one thing is, I won't survive without you, because as a child, without the parents, you won't survive, right? Without the mother nourishing you, there's no way to survive. In a simple world, right? It's not about like somebody else does it. It's like you and your mother, and the food comes from the mother. Uh, then, of course, there is the other step to say, I need your love. um, I need your love in form of nourishment, right? In motherly love, not a love that is created by the mind and this dictating what exactly the mother has to do and what she has to give in time and money and gifts and blah blah blah. It's the basic love of bond that bonds the child to the mother and the mother to the child. It's like something animalistic that you also find in the animal kingdom. There is this bond between the mother and the baby born that is out of the control of the mind, that is so strong that the mother, like the lion mother or even the dog mother, is fighting for their babies, yeah, to the teeth. And then when they are weaning the babies and the babies become independent, they don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. They chase them away, they bite them away, they don't want them around anymore. They want to be ready for their new babies. So this is a bond that is so strong, and it's based on survival. And when survival is accomplished, the bond is gone. Yeah. And on this level of bond, we are talking, when we are talking about mother's love, only that in human life, the mother's love is not gone, other than in animals, right? It has no expiry date, so to speak. It goes beyond death, even, yeah. As you see in family constellation, the mother's love is always there through 7 generations, regardless how old they are or how long they live. It's always there. And this is the kind of love we are talking about in family constellation. And we always have to make sure when we are working with people who are not experienced with this kind of work, that they don't misunderstand that with this romantic, this romantic idea of love, which is more how can I say, an affection, not an affection, a attachment, really, right? It's something um, that is not coming from the heart, that is more um, either emotional or material related. No, I need you to nurture me is also a good plea towards the mother for a child. I depend on you. That's also very good please. These are all the simple forms of please that most representatives are able to say, because they understand that the child is in this situation. Um, Also, if nothing else works, please look friendly at me is also another please. Yeah, this is also something that um, that you need when you have a multiple interrupted movement towards the mother, for example, meaning that the mother is not able to look at the child because she's in her own world, yeah, and she has a problem with her mother. So in this case, please look friendly at me would probably make her to bond to the child and turn around and to look. Yeah, so it's worth trying. Now we talked a lot about the interrupted movement towards the mother, and I would like you to introduce now to what it is. Not in depth, because in module 4 we are going into this in great depth. Um, but I will just touch it here because we are using the term so often that would like you to understand it, how we use it and when we use it and why we use it, and what the meaning is behind all of this. It's a big mouthful. It's a literally translation from Bert Hellinger's Unterbrochener Hinbewegung zur Mutter, is exactly the same mouthful in German. And there are some attempts to have a shorter version of it that makes it more interesting and appealing. But I don't know. Other than an abbreviation of IMTTM or something like that is not coming to my mind. How? So we just stay with it. There is another term for it, which is the interrupted reaching out movement towards the mother, which is the same thing, and I think it's long. It's a same mouthful actually. So that doesn't help. So uh, the pleas towards the mother, when the child or the representative from the child is facing the representative of the mother, starts the interrupted movement again. So what is the interrupted movement? Um, or I will explain that briefly. The child that is to every child has to do the movement to get the nourishment from the mother. Now there's an instinctive movement from the child towards the mother that starts with birth. So when the child is birthed through the birth canal, like we're talking about a natural birth here for now, it has all this energy to go out of the womb of the mother, leave it, struggle through getting through the birth canal, and then finding the nourishing colostrum of the mother from the breast of the mother. And this struggle to get it is necessary to strengthen its immune system. Yeah. So if that would be too easy for the child to do, then it would not be strong, like it would kind of weaken the child throughout his livelihood. So that is actually the same in the nature when you see that like a fowl is born from a mother horse, yeah, it lies there, it is kind of wet and it's get licked dry, but then to get up and get to the milk of the mother, it has to find a way to get on its own legs, right? That's nothing the mother can do, and the mother will not do that. And you can see that, and it's interesting. That is such a fight, and it's kind of you want to help this little baby, for goodness sake, it starts to get up, it falls down again, starts to get up, falls down, and it's like, oh my gosh, just take it there, right? But you shouldn't. Nobody should do that because this struggle of getting up and down is creating this response in the body for a very healthy immune system and the strength to overcome other struggles later in life. So it's a really important movement. And this is the same with humans. So the whole thing with cesarean sections, because it is easy to do and it suits the schedule of the hospital, or the thing that the even if it's a natural birth, that then the midwife or the doctor takes the baby away, and the first thing they're going to be weighed and bathed and all this, and then wrapped in clothes were plopped on the breast of the mother. This is actually taking the experience away from the baby to struggle for its nourishment, right? So so long story short, this struggle for nourishment from the mother is not only the first minutes of life. This actually continues as long as the child is in theta and alpha state, which are the states or the brain waves vibrating in a state kind of like under hypnosis, right? So very receptive to the environment, very receptive and just soaking up everything, yeah. And as long as it is in this state, it is still in this reaching out movement towards the mother to get what it needs in order to survive, yeah. And when this movement is interrupted through unforeseen, not even deliberately, just unforeseen things like the child needs to go in the hospital, the mother needs to go in the hospital, or the mother needs to go away for work for some days, and or whatever happens, and the child is there alone and cannot. It wants to go and go to the mother and have the nourishment, and and she's not there. This is a trauma. This is an early trauma in the life of this child, and this has severe consequences all the life until it has been released. And this is what we call the interrupted movement towards the mother. So, um, if this is happening in the family constellation, Bert Helling has often provided this healing movement towards the mother without any representatives. So he was representing the mother and the client themselves in order to come to the end of the movement and overcome the trauma, which is then dividing them for the rest of their lives, right? However, more in module 4, and it is a very important part of our work, and we will do it a lot, and you will see it in the workshops a lot, and it's kind of the bread and butter of this work, and it has an amazing healing effect on everyone involved. So let's look at, yeah, go away from the parents, let's look at the please in a relationship. So also in a relationship, remember the orders of words. So while the please is the first word from the child to the parents, it is not in a relationship, right? The please is the second word in a relationship where the people are equal towards each other. However, the please is also there, necessary and makes good use in order to create the bond. So please look at me is important when the partners are in a relationship and the relationship is not over, but one of the partner is not able to relate to the other. So then there is a please look at me. Hmm? Then there is please stay with me. So one partner, this is the case when one partner of the relationship wants to go out of the relationship, not because the relationship is over, just in the constellation there's something else they want to follow, like an entanglement, right? They want to follow somebody else. Now the healing movement can be here that the partner says, please stay with me. So then the partner had the chance to decide to get out of the entanglement and returns to the relationship where it's safe. Then we talked about that. Then there is this please forgive me. This is a great urge. You will see that a lot when you're consolidating romantic relationships. The please forgive me is not the please that we want to move the souls because there's nothing to move. However, if if we are not talking about the end of a relationship where you don't want to say that, if we're talking about within the relationship, somebody wants to say that, I would say, okay, say it just because you need to say it. I know it has no effect, but it also doesn't hurt, right? So you would allow it to happen. You would just allow, okay, I allow it, please forgive me, that's fine. But move on with with what you want to do in the family constellation. Don't stay there because it is not moving um it's not moving the souls. Okay, so this we talked about the please forgive me when you allow it to be said, but be assured it has no movement of the souls, right? Another please that is very important in a romantic relationship when they have children is please look at our children. So the bond between partners who have a child will always be there through the child, right? That is undeniable. So if somebody wants to relate to the partner and the partner is not available for that, then they can relate to each other through the children. Hmm? So that would be a please look at our children would make this movement happen. Please, then there are please in other relationships, for example, to the ancestors. That would be a please look friendly at me. I live a little bit longer and come then too, or I follow you then. Yeah. So that means an entanglement with an ancestor or a great love or affection for an ancestor can make one of the descendants, most often then the client in the constellation, wanting to follow them into the death, right? And here is the healing movement enabled, which means separated, to separate them so the client can stay and the ancestor can move on. Please look friendly at me. I live a little bit longer and then I come to the ancestor. Mm. Then there is the please in relationship to God. Yes, definitely. As I said yesterday, God does appears in several forms and shapes in family constellation occasionally, and there's definitely a representative who wants to say please to God, like please help me, please do this for me, please do that for me, right? Especially in a religious ground. This is not the please that would move anything, right? This is just an acknowledging or an observation that there's a religious background with this representative, with this family member, that needs to be addressed. The please to perpetrators also please look at me, and also please look at me and see how much it hurt me. Because this acknowledging of the perpetrator, the hurt of the victim, is the first important step towards healing. Hmm? But without the perpetrator looking at the victim, he will never see and acknowledge the hurt, obviously. So we'll stay in denial and healing is not enabled. There's also pleas to the victim. For example, when the perpetrator is looking at is able to look at the victim, but there is no movement yet. The perpetrator can say to the victim, in this case, please forgive me. Remember, the forgive me has no meaning for the soul's movement, but it's something they want to say. But then what is important and has strength is A, the please, and secondly, I didn't know it hurt so much. This is words that are very powerful because the victim will all of a sudden be open to bond or to engage or to relate to the perpetrator when it is acknowledged that they didn't know it hurt so much. And that is the truth. If you ask the perpetrator, is this true? Then in 90% of the cases, it is true. Of course, there's then also the other story when you have a psychopath who doesn't care about hurting others. Yeah. But in if the normal victim perpetrator relationship, they do know they have not. If they would have known how much it hurt the victim, they wouldn't have done it. So there was this ignoring and putting their own needs over the needs of the victim. But then when the souls are meeting, all of a sudden the perpetrator realizes that it has hurt so much that there is an actual trauma created that goes through generation. And that acknowledgement is the healing movement. So but then we have the advantage giver. Yeah. So you can suggest a representative to say to an advantage giver, please accept my contribution. Because that was lacking. There was taking advantage of somebody without any contribution. So now this wants to be balanced, and you can offer that in this case with a please accept my contribution. Okay, so at this stage, we want to do the exercise we did yesterday with the word please, with the word yes. Now our three other group members are not available. So what are we doing is I do the exercise with you. It will not take 10 minutes. So what
Okay.
it is that so you're connecting with me. I will represent, you can choose one of your parents, mother or father. And then we're observing the dynamic, yeah? And then you decide if you can say please, yeah? Or if you can say, if you can't say please, the little sister of please, like please give me more time or something like that, yeah? Or you can also decide if you feel the urge to become smaller, then you can think of, like, visualize that you are smaller and looking up to your mother, yeah, if that would be the case, or your father. Okay, so forgiving is forgetting. Now this is a very important mm, important, what can I say, um, topic, not only in family constellation but actually in actual life, because we are so tempted to seek forgiveness, or never want to forgive at somebody, or somebody wants to forgive us. And I don't know whether you have noticed, but if somebody comes to you and wants your forgiveness, how does it feel for you? Did you ever had that?
Where someone comes to me and wants forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like really good for me.
Mm-hmm. And what
Like
is your reaction? Mm-hmm.
it feels like really soulful for me as
Mm-hmm.
well.
So
Like
what is your
I
reaction?
accept,
Yeah, you go.
yeah, I accept and I don't deny their like them wanting, forgiveness.
Okay. And what is your reaction? What do you do? Do you forgive or do you not forgive?
I forgive.
You forgive.
Yeah.
Hmm. And what does it do for you then?
It 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 heals me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I every day, like I go about it as in like I don't want to leave this world being regretful
Mm-hmm.
of not giving someone or holding a grudge.
That's good. That's a good point. Good. Let's stay with holding a grudge. Mm-hmm. So in this case, you are the one who has something in the back of the mind, something happened, and you didn't like it, hmm?
Mhm,
And therefore you are angry at somebody else, right?
mhm.
What has that to do with forgiving?
So can you repeat that again?
We have established that you said you don't want to hold a grudge against somebody else, and then, done with your life and you leave with a grudge towards somebody.
Mhm,
That means I just have asked you, when you said you don't want to hold a grudge, that means you don't want to be, you are angry at somebody, right? So you don't want to be angry at somebody. Hmm? Okay.
mhm,
I totally agree. You don't want to be angry with anybody over a
mhm,
period of time, because
mhm,
this is not good for your own energy field. This is not good for your own life, obviously a low vibrating frequency. My question,
mhm.
however, was, if you think about being angry on somebody, hmm, what does it has to do with forgiving?
Um, that's a good question.
Yeah. This is not
I
you.
feel like
Yeah.
I feel like it has to do with it, as in a way, like for example, um, how do I put it into words? Like I feel like it has to do with like for example, if I don't have a great relationship with someone over something, and I don't know how to say it.
Okay, let me help you. So, if you are angry at somebody because something has been done to you or something, right? And this other one, yeah, would say to you, please forgive me. Is your anger gone? Is that what happened?
No, not that easily.
No, exactly. Right? Are
Correct.
you exactly? So, how would your anger really be gone if you don't want it? If you don't want to hold a grudge, what are you doing?
Forgiving, I'm talking about the situation
Hmm.
and expressing myself, like
And mhm.
listening, listening to the person, expressing myself, and also hearing each other.
Very good. And what would be the result then of such a communication, assuming it would have a positive outcome?
You said, would it be a positive outcome?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
would,
it
yeah.
will. I feel the reaction would be positive for both sides.
Would you
And
continue to talk about that afterwards?
no,
So what did you
I
do then in this case?
I I wouldn't. I feel like I would resolve the situation if I had to confront, forgive. I would talk about it then and there and move forward.
Exactly. Now, this moving forward does also mean that you leave something behind. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because if this is the grunge, the situation, the anger, right? And you say you move forward, you leave this behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in other terms, you move forward and you forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is the point. And this is why forgiving is in true forgetting. The true forgiving is forgetting it. Hmm? And Bert Hellinger was very, very, very strict with it. He said there is no such thing as forgiving if it is not as same at the same time forgetting it. Because otherwise you say only you forgive, but you still think of it. And as long as you think of it, it is not forgotten and it's not forgiven because it's still the energy is still around. No?
Right.
And the residues of the grunge and the residues, it's all around. So you have in order to truly forgive, you have to forget it completely and never think of it again. And that's the new start and the moving forward for everyone. Mm.
Yeah.
So this is also saying us that we can only forgive ourselves in the means of forgetting, letting go of the
Mhm.
grudge, letting go of the anger, letting go of the situation and moving on and not thinking of it anymore. Yeah. So in truth, we cannot force somebody else to do that. So we cannot forgive somebody because everyone has to do the same work. Everybody who holds a grudge or an anger needs to move forward by forgetting it and never thinking of it again. Right? That's a
Gotcha.
remedy. That's a remedy. And that's also in family constellation. What we do is we don't want people to forgive each other because that's not even possible. But we want to resolve the problem, whatever it was, the energy blockage there,
Mhm.
the lack of love, and then move on by forgetting about it completely. It's done. It's done. We never think about it. We never talk about it. It's just done. Move on. Hmm? Very good. So I
Okay.
think you will probably not forget that anymore.
Yeah.
Very good. So, um, when we analyze exactly what the wish to forgive somebody is, it is indicating a hierarchy. It is only that. It's establishing a hierarchy and a state of power. Has nothing to do with holding the grudge and letting it go. It has only to do to establish a hierarchy. So I'm better than you because, I have it in my hands, you know, to make you feel good or bad, because as long as I don't forgive you, you have to feel bad.
Mhm.
That's a state of power. Hmm? And who likes to be in the state of power is um, puts himself or herself in a state in a role of superiority, right? In a
Mhm.
relationship that is equal, like that is equal to each other. So
Mhm.
that will not work. Um, So, if there's forgiving in play, also in a family constellation, but also in real life, it's either that somebody's looking up and the other one is looking down, right? That's how it works. Yeah. So this is why the true forgiving is forgetting. And so you can only do that to yourself. So if you will, you can say, I forgive myself that I hold a grudge. Whatever has been led to this grudge, I don't care. I don't want to hold this grudge anymore. I have the power over myself to let go of the grudge and the anger and move on by forgetting completely what it was and why it was and what made me. And at this stage, I've been often asked, how do you do this? Is it really possible to forget? And I can say, yes. In my life, I did that. I had some very serious um, how can I say, problems, relationships, where it was not easy, but it is possible to forget it and move on. You deserve it. You give love and respect to yourself to be able to not be held down by your own anger, right?
Mhm.
And this is the good news is, and this is why it's so empowering is because it's in your hands. You don't need any. Nobody needs you. You don't need to be forgiven by anybody. Now you know that. Nobody can forgive you for anything. Whatever you have been done, it's their problem if they hold a grudge, not yours. Has nothing to do with you. Even if you would forgive, like even if they would forgive you or whatnot, the grudge is still there as long as they don't forget. Mm. So it's all
Mhm.
about forgetting the situation, moving on. And that is the important part of forgiveness. Hmm? Um, so in a family constellation setup, I have said that a few times today, as you use it sparingly, the word forgive. Actually, as a facilitator, you never really use it. It is more that the representative has the urge to use it, right? That's more the case. And then, as I said, in certain circumstances, you would allow it and then apply the powerful words because this is not powerful because it's not forgetting. And in other situations that we have discussed, you would not even allow it to let that come up. Hmm? So be very, very alert if this topic forgiveness comes up in a family constellation. It is not a strong word. It is not a word of power. Yeah. Although it feels emotionally to some representative as if that would be the most powerful word, right? But it is not. So then that you find that also in family constellations quite often that they want to say I'm sorry. What do you think now that you heard that? Do you want that to be said or not?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so neither. Why? It doesn't. Does it? When you say I'm sorry, does it make you strong or weak?
Weak.
Exactly. It does. It
Yeah.
makes one weak. Mm. And then also, I don't know whether you noticed, but some people they say I'm sorry to absolutely everything.
Oh, yes. That's a situation right now that I have with like at work. I've been witnessing it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And I'm like, what are you sorry for? Like,
Exactly.
there's nothing to be sorry for. I didn't do anything to you. Don't be sorry because there's nothing to be sorry
Mm.
about.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? And you notice that, and it makes this person weak. And it tries you to drag into this weakness with this, I'm sorry. So it is like it wants to drag your stronger energy down into lower frequencies with this. So it is suggested instead of, well, you cannot change what other people do, you can just walk away. But in your own words, in your own terminology, the language you use in your day-to-day living, if you are conditioned mostly by society, family, and so on, school, to say I'm sorry, you can replace it with words that have more power. For example, a very good example is people who are coming late. They say, I'm so sorry I'm late. Yeah. That makes it for the one who's waiting not better, right? It was still wasting time. There's
Mhm.
nothing gained. And the one who's coming, I'm so sorry that I'm late, makes this person who is late small, right? And weak and so so what is the powerful strong sentence here is thank you for waiting,
Mhm.
right? Has the same meaning, but it makes both strong. The one who is waiting is acknowledged that they had to sacrifice time. Hmm?
Mhm.
And the one they were waiting for is acknowledging that they have to balance it out with a thank you, which is a strong word. It's a powerful word. And this is great because you might, if you're late, you might be tempted to say, I'm sorry I'm late. And you just, mm, and then you think and say, thank you for waiting. And then you feel how different it is for both. Yeah. And then there are other sorries that you might be aware of that you are using in your language unconsciously that you can replace with something else. What else can that? What is anything come to your mind? What when you would say I'm sorry?
For example, I have a second job too. So I have a job in the morning and I do caregiving at night. So in the morning, I work at a food restaurant, and my coworkers come across saying, I'm sorry, like if they bump into me
Yeah.
or if play something.
Hmm.
So I feel like I've been around that too much to where it comes to me too. So if I accidentally bump into someone or if I did
Hmm.
something wrong, automatically I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I've been noticing the change within like the week, this whole week that passed. I've been noticing the change in me where I didn't like, I don't like to come rude at all to them, but
Hmm.
they're saying it so much to where I finally noticed it myself. And I was saying I'm sorry a lot for no reason too. And so I was like, well, until I really pondered and I meditated on it, I'm like, why am I saying I'm sorry if
Yeah.
I'm not doing wrong?
Very good. So here we are. Exactly. Very well observed. Brilliant. So what would you say bumping into somebody else instead? What would be powerful? You have three possibilities. Please, yes, and thank you. What would you say?
Please.
Please, what? Please make space for me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's actually
yeah.
a word, please is for me.
Oh,
Or
or thank
like
you.
you said,
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, seeing those words and making them more powerful, making a
yeah.
powerful sense
Hmm.
as opposed to saying I'm sorry, because in reality, I didn't do anything and you didn't do anything to me.
Exactly. Exactly. And even if something has been done from somebody to somebody else, nobody's really sorry for it,
Mhm.
you know. because it's either done deliberately, so nobody's sorry, it would be just meaningless, yeah,
Mhm.
or it was an accident, then it was the hand of God, leading to this event. So you can't be sorry for it because it happened anyhow, you know.
Yes.
So when you run into somebody else, you could say, instead of I'm sorry, you could say, please, can I have space? Or
Okay.
you can say, thank you, thank you, thank you for making way for me, or something like that. Yeah. Or just thank you instead of I'm sorry, just thank you. The thank
Okay.
you is better because you're not bonding. When you say
Mm.
please, you're bonding, but you maybe don't want to be so close to the people that you're running in accidentally. Yeah. So the thank you is always great to get some space in between you and the other that you are relating. So when you bump into somebody else and you say thank you, they don't even notice. I would say try it out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And we'll
Okay.
say thank you for what, thank you for what. And nobody has time to answer that anyhow in the hustle and bustle of a restaurant. But if they would like to discuss why you say thank you can always say what we say. Thank you for making space for me,
Gotcha.
right?
Yes.
Thank you for getting out of the way, or thank you for enduring my bumping ins. You know, but it's definitely more powerful, right? Mm.
Yes. And I wanted to share too something quick. Ever since we started yesterday, since I feel like really good about since yesterday, the class we had last night.
Mhm.
Um, the please, yes, and thank you.
Mhm.
I I've been using it a lot since I woke up this morning in
Yeah.
my head as
Yeah.
and even like you said, practicing in the mirror, like saying direct words, and also I've been noticed how much of a key it is important to use those words with people, with myself, and
Mhm.
how I talk.
Very
So I made a really inspirational post on my Facebook about how those three words are magical.
good. That's
And
wonderful. Yes, they
I
are.
got that straight in my head.
Wonderful. I'm glad that that happened like a clicking in, coming together
Yeah.
for you. Great. Okay, now we are talking about the second dynamic in family constellation. You remember the first dynamic we talked yesterday about was, do you remember what is called?
Uh, no.
Reparation for my sins?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
atonement for my sins. Uh-huh. And now the second dynamic we are talking today about is rather me than you. Rather me
Oh,
than you is a dynamic that is also an entanglement, like all the three dynamics are. So you have three people. And what the dynamic is here, that somebody is not able to connect, often perpetrator victim. Somebody is not able, either the victim or the perpetrator, to relate and to heal the wound, the family wound through relationship, and to acknowledging each other. And a third person from the family system is taking it over. That's what we call entanglement. So this person says to his entangler, which is a family member, rather I do it than you. Hmm? And it is a violation of the second order of love, who comes first. Because the one who came first cannot be replaced by somebody later. Yeah? They have to do it. Nobody can take it over who comes later. They are all smaller, in if you look at it like like a ladder situation. They are smaller. So why would somebody even do that? This is very unconsciously and a deep love to the entangled person. It is just, of course, they don't know that, and they don't know the entangler, right? You see that only in the family constellation. But what happens, what you see, what you know is that these people have problems in their lives. Hmm? They have diseases and they are unsuccessful in all walks of lives, and they struggle with this and they struggle with that. And and in the family constellation, you then see, oh, that is the dynamic rather me than you. That's why he cannot live his life in full, because he's following somebody else. Mm.
Mm.
He's not free. And that is the beauty of this work, is to free yourself and others. Right? To be free to make your own choices and live your own life and find the beauty in that. Because before we are not free, we never see the beauty in that. Because we see our life through the eyes of others who have problems. Mm. So, so often children they find themselves in the dynamic for their parents or their grandparents, more often for their grandparents, because in entanglements in these dynamics, generations are often skipped. So a child is entangled with the grandfather, or the father is entangled with the great grandfather, or the grandfather is entangled with the great great grandfather. That is more often as if a child is entangled with the father, or the father with the grandfather. That is actually quite rare, right? However, generations can be skipped, so the child can be entangled with the great grandfather, for example. Hmm? But you would expect in a family constellation, when you are working with one of the three dynamics and you have an entanglement there, that you at least have three generations there, hmm? If not more. So the pre-existing dynamic, rather me than you, can also, so no, I phrase it differently. The dynamic, rather me than you, can be repetitive. That means that it is already existing in the family system over generations, and it's always repeated. So you have, let's say the client you're working with is entangled with the grandfather, then chances, in the rather me than you dynamic, then chances are that the grandfather is himself entangled with the great great grandfather in the same rather me than you dynamic. We always have to consider in family constellation that it is not just one generation where the trauma is, but it is repeated patterns, repeated patterns, right? So this is always good to always add an ancestor, just to see if it is continuing this this dynamic, right? Um, the rather me dynamic is the same as atonement for the sins, or the third dynamic we are looking on tomorrow is I follow you. It's always about death, yeah? It's always death. It is a life-threatening situation. Hmm? Because somebody in the family system has died. We call that a victim, either deliberately or accidental, through somebody in the family system. And for some reason, circumstantial maybe, this is not acknowledged. It is forgotten. And it shouldn't, because the victim belongs to the family system. Yeah. But it's out, or the perpetrator. It depends on from which perspective you're looking. And this is a breach of the orders of love, to outcast somebody who belongs, first order who belongs. So this is why the family soul is not resting until it comes to light in 7 generations, which is, if you think a generation is, let's say, 30 years, then it is 7 generations is 700, is 210 years. So that's a long time for all these, and for this entanglement to happen and then to be repeated, right? so it is not forgotten. That is all the family soul is concerned about. So, rather me than you can also look like anger towards one parent for the other parent. So then that is an entanglement without skipping generations. That is when a child is entangled with one of the parents, hmm, and then looks at the other parent as so. Imagine there are frictions between the parents, of course, like anger, yeah, and they are not playing it out, then the child of these can take over this anger because it's entangled, let's say, with the father and shows anger towards the mother. But it's not the anger of the child, it's the anger of the father. So that is also dynamic, rather me than you. So every time when strong emotions are taken over by somebody else, we have to look for this dynamic because it's most likely rather me than you. What else are we looking at? The entanglement with the one who wants to follow somebody else, that is the dynamic we're talking about tomorrow. I follow you, yeah? Means then you can have both together. Rather, I follow him or her than you. Or in other words, we say, I'll do this for you, or I'm stronger than you, therefore I'll do it for you. But it's all against the orders of love because it's not the role of the descendant to do that. It's the role of the ancestor to deal with it. Yeah. And I just want you to hear that you don't need necessarily to understand it at this point because you need to see it to understand. So in one of the practice workshops, when this comes up, I'm pointing that out, obviously, right? At this stage, I might remind you, I think, have you been to the practice workshop last weekend? No, no,
No.
no, no. Just a reminder, uh, try to make time for the practice workshops and the training gatherings
Mm.
because they are so valuable. They are even much better than the open workshops alone because we are discussing the family constellations there, and I'm pointing things out that I would never do in an open workshop where public people coming. No, so
Okay.
the,
For
so the
I just
practice
have a
workshop are important.
how would I book that one?
You don't book it. You go to the calendar on the training community and click on the date, and then the Zoom link comes up.
Oh, okay, perfect.
No need to
Okay.
book it. The only thing is you need to remember it because you don't get an email reminder.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Okay.
if you click the little cross on the right hand corner of the Google Calendar, then it imports it into your own calendar and into your own time zone. And if you
Okay.
use your Google Calendar for other appointment, then it will show. So you can't forget it.
Oh,
It will just be there. And also the link is also there.
oh,
So, mhm.
per-
So this is every 2 months. So it won't be in the month of March, but in the month of April, the next one.
okay.
Mhm. I hope
Awesome.
it's not a very inconvenient time for you. No, I think it's earlier. It's definitely normally at the more in the afternoon. So earlier than this. So
Okay.
it would be good for you, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. If not, I can request a time off work and work around it.
Great. If you're happy enough, well, you know the dates are all fixed for half a year, so you can maybe take half a day
Okay.
off or something to be able to come to this. Awesome. So um, so as always, we want to know what mends, what is healing, what is the movement here to relieve the persons from this rather me than you dynamic, and that would be I see your love for him or her, whoever that is, the third person, and I honor that. Yeah. Or I respect that it is your way, not mine. Or now I see it's your fate, not mine. Because that is a problem. They don't see that before the constellation. Before the constellation, they think it is theirs. And after the constellation, they realize, no, it's not. It's actually not me. It's somebody else. That's the healing movement. That is what meant. So, and this at this stage we are talking about entanglements, and explain that a little bit more. So, if you think about a triangle, then you have three tips, and these are the three persons of an entanglement. And for the clarity, I may actually could let me do a whiteboard drawing. Okay, very cool. So let's go back to our slides. Where are they? Oh, where are they now? Gone. Okay, let's do that. So, so okay. So in entanglements, um, so this is what I just explained, what an entanglement is. Why does it happen? It happened out of deep love to a family member, and the family soul creates this bond through love. So this victim in this case is not forgotten, and eventually is going to be integrated into the family system to make it whole. What are the signs of an entanglement? The signs of entanglement is that somebody feels drawn towards death, suicidal thoughts, disease, severe disease or fatal disease, or a general unsuccess in life, nothing works, nothing makes him happy. There's always this pull. Some describe that as darkness, this pull and anxieties, um, severe allergies, everything that causes the person to really suffer can be a sign for an entanglement. No? What is also a sign for an entanglement is that always the representative looking from a distance, and the representative of the client feels drawn to someone, often somebody who's lying on the floor, somebody who's representing a dead person, right? They often want to lie down with the victim. That is also the sign. And they express love towards the other. Right? The other meaning the third person, the entangler, the perpetrator, Mr. P in our example. So it can be the client, or, of course, it's always the possibility of a repetitive pattern. It can be another family member. So it can be just a repetition of the dynamic that has happened before. Okay, let's talk about chronic diseases. Let's talk about depression. Depression is often caused or triggered by the sudden death of a close family member. So when somebody is depressed without any reason in a family constellation, it might be that they are entangled with somebody who has lost a close family member, right? So the depression is not their own, it is somebody else's. Psychological confusion, psychosis, and schizophrenia is an entanglement with more than one person. And these have opposing dynamics. So this cannot be solved, right? In a way that the dynamics are opposing each other. So if you clear one, then the other dynamic comes up again, you know. So when you have the sign of psychosis or schizophrenia, there's actually a post on the training community site where we have gathered information about this topic and some Bert Hellinger videos that you can see what that means. This is a difficult constellation. It's not beginner friendly, and there's often no help possible. And they are uh, running in literally in circles, the representatives. They're coming to no conclusion, right? No movement of the source. But however, I never say never. I'm sure there are some that suffering psychosis that can be helped with family constellation, so I wouldn't give it up. Yeah, but I also don't hope for them. Or I know that is pretty much the only time when I know that most likely there is no solution.
Interesting.
Yeah. And also interesting is that in classical psychotherapy, it is known that schizophrenia cannot be healed. It can only be managed with drugs
Oh,
and
wow.
therapy. It cannot be healed. So that is the official statement of the whatever psychology department. And in family constellation, it is quite clear that this looks also like this. However,
Mhm.
I would never say, or we never say never, because there
Mhm.
can be this one constellation where it is different, and we always want to give it a chance. We always want to make room for the new to come through. So in the family constellation, we always stay open rather than a faculty that has its strict rules and boxes boxes to put everything in, and then there is no space for anything else. That's not what we do. Muscle deterioration, like MS or something like that, right? Hints on violent conflicts in the family system, often several generations back. That's where we're looking for then, in this case. What else do we have? Skin, skin diseases like psoriasis or dermatitis, severe dermatitis, has been proven that someone, a beloved, has been left behind with a bad conscience. That's 3 times now in my practice the case. The same reason for psoriasis. What? How do you even pronounce this in English? Psoriasis, whatever. So the thing here is, the thing here is that if you work with somebody with has this skin disease, that when you do a constellation, it will appear so has it has been in my practice that they have left somebody behind due to circumstances, whatever, yeah, and they had a bad conscience for that, and the one who left behind has suffered and was really hurt by that, right? And interestingly, that appears as a itchy and very painful skin disease.
Wow.
Mm, mm. And actually, if Rosemary would be here, we could talk about that because she had a constellation where that was actually the case. So, but next time you see her, we will go through that. Uh,
Okay.
Eating disorders are often rejecting of nourishment. Of course, that's obvious. Like eating disorders, a rejection of nourishment, and this is often a conflict in the parents. Not a conflict with the parents, a conflict in the parents. Right? So children or teenager that developing eating disorders often, or pretty much every time, are living in a family where the parents have either open or hidden conflicts with each other, severe conflict. What else do we have? Um, so we have to find, in order to help within the family constellation with a sick person that comes for help, you know, we have to find what we need to add to make the soul move towards healing. And therefore, we need to know what it needs to be acknowledged. Hmm? And what the sick person does not acknowledge and therefore is sick is often another person, a missing person of the family system, a guilt, the feeling of guilt, although we know that the feeling of guilt is superficial. But first of all, it needs to, if it's there, it needs to be acknowledged, first of all, and then dealt with. Yeah. It's like being alcoholic. You cannot go and get help to become clean if you're not acknowledging that you're alcoholic. Yeah. So that's the
Mhm.
same with these emotions. They need to be found and acknowledged regardless if they are created by the mind or not. A sick person sometimes not acknowledges a boundary. That's interesting. Of one way or the body. So they have maybe they're not acknowledging their own body. They don't feel at home in their body often, or they don't feel that they belong here. Um, or the sick person doesn't acknowledge the soul. Sometimes people are sick because they are denying everything that is in the unseen. Like they are so rational that they only believe in what their eyes can see. And, so if they don't believe, I know people, they don't believe in the soul. They just blatantly say there is no soul. And in this case, or spirit even, right? So in this case, well, there is the possibility of a fatal or chronic disease to enter, to make this unbalance aware. A sick person does not acknowledge sometimes the spirit or the spiritual world or their own spiritual purpose. For example, migraine. Migraine is a sign of disconnecting from their spirit, from the spiritual
Oh,
purpose. Hmm. Have you ever noticed? Do you know people with migraine?
yeah, actually.
Hmm. Just observe.
I Yeah, I know a lot of people that have migraines. Talking about that, actually, 2 nights ago, I had a really bad migraine,
Ah, had you?
and I usually don't ever get them.
Mm.
Interesting because I always blame for another reason of why I have a migraine.
Hmm.
And I think about it
So if you have
spiritually.
only yeah, that's interesting. So if you have not a chronic migraine, hmm? So when we are talking about chronic migraine, this is persons who are detached from the spiritual purpose, right? But if you have the occasional migraine, you can also be dehydrated, honestly, and as easy as that. And also, it could be also in a momentarily disconnecting with your spiritual purpose, right?
Gotcha.
So this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. A sick person does not acknowledge a task to be done. They are just procrastinating something that needs to be done, and therefore getting sick. That's common, especially unpleasant tasks, obviously. A path to be taken, they don't do the necessary step, the next step that needs to be done in their lives. And therefore, they can't admit with the healing word, whatever that is, where they are at and move forward from there. Right? This is where we help in the family constellation with. All three dynamics that we're talking about, that is atonement for my sins, rather me than you, and I follow you, which we do tomorrow, yeah, can lead to a dead wish, a suicidal thought, or to an actual death, right? Atonement for one's own actions or personal guilt of a family system member one is entangled with is one of these cases. We talked about that yesterday. And then I follow you into the death. We talk about that tomorrow. That is very often. And then we have rather I die than you, what we talked about just now. Hmm? It always has to do with this. That doesn't mean, so obviously the people coming to a constellation are not dead. So they have these thoughts about suicide. And if I say dead, then the entangled person is dead. And then there is a dead victim. And they feel drawn towards death. Yeah. That doesn't mean that they ever take their lives. That doesn't mean that they have a disease that is fatal, right? But it's something that that hinders them to have a happy and fulfilled and free life and healthy life, you know? And through this burden, they are weighed down, weighed down, which is always feels with a little death. like you're not really alive. You're not really fully alive.
Mhm.
To work with clients close to death, now when we talk about that, now of course you can have clients who are coming at the end stadium of cancer, with the whole body full of metastases, how you call that in English? Mm, cancer everywhere. And obviously, what are we doing with them? Are we gonna raise them from the deathbed and then they walk out healthy of the family constellation? No, of course not. They have passed this stage. But what are we helping them with is to make peace with their disease, and
Mhm.
and to fulfill the purpose of the disease by finding the dynamic that the disease is caused, and finding the lack of love in the family system, no?
Mhm.
And then the client who came, who is already on the way out, has fulfilled the sole purpose of his life, right?
Mhm.
For what the family system has sent him, so if you will. So this is a great service. Mm. And in this case, these clients, they will die peacefully.
Mhm.
They will not fight it. They will not struggle. They will be happy. So you must have that a lot. Like if you care for the elderly, I'm sure they are passing away quite a few, eh?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I get to see a lot, and it's hard.
Is it hard
It's
for
hard.
you? Hmm.
Yeah,
How do
it's
you
hard
deal
for
with
me,
that?
but I try to be not try. I am present in the moment,
Hmm.
and I go above and beyond, and I do my best at the moment, the day of, because I mentally prepare if they are transitioning
Hmm.
or going to, and I have to be prepared
Hmm.
to when they, so when they pass, I feel really happy in a way, like my soul feels happy that they've passed because I've done the best I could serving them while I was there working. So I don't really see my job, my caregiving job, as, of course I get paid, but I see it as I'm in service to
Mm.
helping them. So that's how I see it. So it makes me
Wonderful.
really happy.
Yeah, wonderful. Sounds really wonderful. Mm. I have learned by my spiritual healing teacher, Malcolm Southwood, that if you want to help a soul passing on, you do not hold the hands, you hold the feet.
Oh
Have you
wow.
heard of that?
No.
So he said if you hold the hands, you hold them back because the hands are connected with the heart.
Oh.
And through your energy, your life force coming through the hands to their heart, you are nourishing it and they can't leave. Because as long as the heart is beating, the heartbeat, we talk about that in module 4, the heartbeat is creating a frequency, an electromagnetic field that holds the soul close. Yeah. And when
God.
the heart stops, then this magnetic field stops and the soul is free to leave. So
Gotcha.
when you are Reiki, and you know how much energy you have in your hands, right? So when you're holding the hand of a person who's passing on, you are increasing the energy for their heart energy.
Mm.
So it beats more longer, and the soul cannot leave. However, if you hold the feet, you are pushing your energy upwards into the body, so it helps to push out the soul.
Wow. Okay.
You can try it if you
Thank
want to.
No,
Um,
do it. Good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so now we talk about how to facilitate a disease. There are three ways to do that. First of all, the first way is the client goes into the disease guided by the morphogenetic field and sees the person that comes up. That would be like a guided meditation. You would ask the client to close eyes and relax and come into alpha state and connect with the disease and really
Mhm.
go into it and feel it and be really present with the disease, and then see if a family member comes up. And then we would work with this family member that comes up in the family constellation.
Mhm.
That's one way. The second way is you or the client can choose a representative for the disease from the existing participants.
Mhm.
And then the disease, the representative will give some hints. So from there it develops then. Or a classic constellation is, excuse me, a classic constellation is to put the immediate family and then the next generation up, like the parents, maybe the siblings, the parents of the parents, the grandparents of the parents. You need a lot of people to do that. And then you see where the disease is related to. So this is also called the old family constellation, because this is how Bert Hellinger worked 20, 30 years ago, with all these people. And then you see practically where's the disorder. Yeah. But nowadays, we don't have that many people. We don't need that many people. We are normally working with one or two, with either or. Um, I wanted to demonstrate it. I'm not quite sure if I can do that now with only you, but we see, we see. We might come to that. So here's the figurine board. Do you have a disease?
So interesting we talk about this. Oh goodness. Okay, so I wanted to like open up a little bit, but in October of last year, at the end of October, I had COVID pneumonia at the end of October. So I was a long hauler for a whole month. Like I was really down and I started losing a lot of my hair. My after symptoms, like I've been questioning my body a lot, like muscle pain, hair loss. I did get like a rash, but it went away. And brain fog, like all of the COVID symptoms, right? And the long hauler. And my hormones messed up, everything totally messed up. And I had gone to the doctor in September before getting COVID. I've gone to the doctor to get lab work done. And I've always been clean, healthy, really clean diet and everything. So all my lab results were clean. Then I got COVID and I was down for a whole month, like a whole month. And so January, I felt the call to go get retested just to make sure everything is clear. And recently I got my lab results back on my birthday. My doctor called me, which I thought was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that I had one of my lab results were basically bad, she said. I forgot the word, what it was, like
Mm-hmm.
what she said, but she called me to get retested because she said it could have been an error. But she basically said that I tested positive for my ANA test, the ANA test lab she requested for me to get tested,
Mm-hmm.
which
And what does it
she
mean?
did. It's basically a lab work she did, where they can find if I have lupus,
Uh-huh.
lupus or diabetes or any inflammation that is attacking my cells in my
Uh,
body.
an autoimmune disease.
Yeah, autoimmune disease.
Mm-hmm.
So it tested positive for that. And so I have this upcoming week to go back to get retested because it's been 3 weeks. But I've been questioning my body a lot. I'm not trying to freak out about it. But I did shave my head off in December 9th because I was losing a lot of my hair.
Yeah.
It's growing back quick, which I'm happy about. And it's just, I'm staying really positive. So she did ask me if lupus runs in my family, if diabetes runs in my family. Diabetes does run in my family. But sometimes I question, why am I going through this? Why,
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of dealing with all that too right now.
Okay, so if you don't mind, um, we use this here as a demonstration for
Okay.
how to facilitate a disease. Um, uh, while you were talking, it appears to me that if we are looking at something, uh, then we would probably have to look at your blood, right?
Mm.
Because autoimmune disease means that something is in your blood that is distributing to your body and fighting your own cells.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in this case, we are going with the method 2. So I would like you to choose a figurine because we have nobody else here. We use a figurine for to represent your blood. And as just your blood, just as it is, and yourself. So two figurines for now.
Okay. So I'll choose the green one up at the front, the small one.
This one?
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
for my blood,
yeah.
and me, one of the little ones at the front.
Which one?
That the little one. Yeah, that one.
You the yellow one?
The yellow one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Ah, and then we choose a third person for a ancestor, for one of your family members who is
Mhm.
um, in with this.
I'll choose the. Let's see. The one up at the front, the medium one next to the little one. Yeah,
That one?
that one.
Okay. Right. So now when we are positioning this figurine, I want you to do that very, so you obviously intuitively. So you just feel into where you think it's the right space for them, right? So I recap. This is you, this is your blood, and this is an ancestor.
Yes.
And we know already by the colors that the field shows for this that it is an entanglement. You know why?
Why?
Because your ancestor has the color of the blood,
Wow.
not your blood. Right?
Wow.
Mhm. So let's place them. We start with any order you want to. I just move it around for you and you tell me where you want it. So let's see, this is your blood. We let it move around and you tell me where you want it, where it feels,
Mm,
just where it feels right.
there.
There. Okay. Which way do you want it to face?
I want to face it that way. Yeah.
That way. Very good. Then we take yourself. Where in relationship to your blood do you want to be? Where do you feel right? What is your right place?
Mm.
Close, far
Way
away?
blood.
Hmm?
A little bit more to the frontwards. There.
And where are you looking at?
That way.
That way. Right. Now we take you the third.
Far away from. Yeah. More. Yeah. More this way. A little bit more. Yeah. Right there.
And
Facing
looking
away as.
where?
So facing the other way towards, yeah, that way.
Okay. Now, when we look at this, and I move it around, this is you. This is
Mhm.
your blood with the potential autoimmune cells, with the fighting cells. And this is an ancestor who is related to this. What do you see? What is your observation?
Distance.
Yeah, distance and, and as well disconnection.
Entanglement.
Yeah, and a
Disconnection.
disconnection
Entanglement.
and a triangle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now I would like you to represent all of them. So I put my finger on a figurine and you feel into this figurine and you tell me how they feel. Or if a word comes up, something.
Weak.
Good.
Weak as well.
Mhm.
Tension.
Tension. Is in any of this figurine a movement?
No.
No.
Hmm. The green, however, needs to be closer to ancestor. Right there.
Very good. Take a deep breath and then look at it again and tell me how you feel.
I feel a strong connection
Mhm.
towards red and green.
Very good. So this connection would be represented by your figurine here. When I turn it around, you want to go closer?
No.
Do you want to look at them?
Yes.
Good.
I need to be a little closer.
Mhm.
Right there.
How does that
And
feel?
then ancestor wants to look at green.
Very good. It does. say for the ancestor to the green, now I see you.
Now I see you.
How's that for you?
Good.
Good. And for the green, you can say, I follow you.
I follow you.
Is it right or wrong?
Right.
How does it feel for the red one?
Feels wrong.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Say for the red one, this is my destiny, not yours.
This is my destiny, not yours.
Where I go, I cannot be followed.
Where I go, I cannot be followed.
How's that for you when you hear that?
Very healing. Very good.
Mm. And how's
I
that
want
for
to
the,
be
yeah?
I want to be closer to green. Right there.
Very good. He's saying, thank you for seeing me
Thank you for seeing me
and acknowledging
and acknowledging me,
my destiny.
my destiny.
Say to him, you say the yellow one to the red one, I honor and respect your destiny.
I honor and respect your destiny.
Please give us your blessing.
Please give us your blessing
When we stay.
when we stay.
How's that for you?
Good.
Very good. He says yes. Blessings.
Yes. Blessings.
How's that for you?
Happy.
Very good.
Free. Like feel free.
Very good. Say to your blood, now we are free.
Now we are free.
And say to your blood, yes,
Yes.
I love you as you are.
I love you as you are.
And thank you for your service.
And thank you for your service.
How's that for the green one?
Healthy.
Good. Very good. So we leave it here and say thank
Thank
you
you.
to the figurines, our representatives. They are always doing a great job.
Yes. Thank you, Maya.
All right. So now you see, this is a demonstration, more than a demonstration. Actually, every time I want to demonstrate a family constellation, it becomes a family constellation. There's nothing you can do. It's just not possible. Anyhow, right.
Like
We're at the end.
everything,
Yeah, you go? What did you say?
everything was meant to be.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Look, we are at the end of today's teaching content. I wish you a really restful night.
Thank you.
And I see you tomorrow. Are you also working tomorrow? Shall we meet again at 6:30? Also,
I, I we can meet regular time.
at the regular time?
Um,
Good. Let's do
because
that then.
I get off at 5 p.m. your time, so I have an hour gap. So
And that's okay for you?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine for me.
Okay, then we do that.
Thank you
See you
so much.
tomorrow. Thank you for being there. Bye.
Good night.
Night.